State of disarray. Turbulence. In period of time, uneasy reflections of a society plunging towards chaos. Represented by a clueless installed president and nonchalant cabinet. Calls for unity and acceptance remaining unheard by opposition from two conflicting political ideologies. Consistent flow of narrative that is counter to American ideology and a gross violation against our nation. Stokes the flames of resentment and anger. The simple fact that there is overwhelming evidence of voter fraud plainly displayed for the masses to see that is cast away as conspiracy. These actions perpetrated by the media propaganda machine separate the population in resolve and purpose, and set in mind the party before country, a failed ideology that has never been sustainable. Riots, large-scale demonstrations, fall within a context to a general state of dismay for the establishment. When viewed with plain sight, there appears to be an internal collapse of all systems within the federal and in large part state-level authorities, where a dual system of government has been installed to break the will of the people. The sheer distance we have diverged away from the founders' intent for the nation is striking. Take for a moment the following into context. The federal government originally was only designed to do three things. 1. Secure our borders. 2. Establish a standard of currency. 3. Act as a figurehead for the nation on trade. Interesting fact about taxation. The federal was never supposed to be allowed to tax the individual. All taxation was to be at state level, and then an agreed portion of that was to be collected by the federal from the states. The idea from the founders was that everything was to be taken care of at the lowest level, or the lowest level closest to the people. So how have we diverged so far? That is of considerable debate. The founders believed that due to the dubious nature of man, that no system of government could withstand the test of time. They established a system that in its most basic form allowed for self-governance and union during periods of national distress. By keeping the government out of the people's daily lives, the people were free of their own volition to live their lives the way they chose to. We all know it is not the nature of man to live their own life without directly trying to influence the lives of others. That sense of self-purpose leads to greed and corruption. I believe that has leaked into every organization within the federal government and has ruined the integrity of the government. When primary focus serves only to enrich oneself and the calling of government, the enrichment of others is ignored. There can be no retribution. The people will ultimately suffer under the oppressive regime that is the root cause of the problems we are experiencing. We have a centralized power structure that was never meant to exist, giving a small group of elites enormous power over the will of the people and the freedom to live their lives as they choose. The government in general fashion controls every aspect of our lives. This is a great travesty to a free nation, and was what our founders warned specifically about. We have been living under purgatory for so long that the aspiration of freedom is a foreign concept that is not easy to comprehend. The main cause of this separation from England, taxation without representation, has run amok within the United States. We are ruled by a monarch of bureaucrats, self-serving in policy and action. Then the story goes deeper. We saw the halt to the progress of the de-Americanizing with a courageous outsider who dared to challenge the power base. The establishment has already consumed so much of the federal and state level systems that the corrective actions required were not enough to restore the balance. All is not lost in the hope of the Republic, by maintaining a firm resistance to the imperial policies of the Beltway and unsustainable government overreach, we can allow our voice to resonate and with enough focus spread effectively, creating a contagious resistance to the destruction of our way of life and our value system. There are plenty of constitutionally based organizations that an individual can join at the community level to amplify their voice. We can choose by force of action to not use media and other sources that will suppress our voices. What is of most importance is the coalitions using their combined power of voice to place demands on elected officials. I urge Patriot to the Republic to break free from the party line bigotry that distorts the message. We must focus on the constitutionality of the issues. The framers' design and origins is what must be reinstated away from the imperialistic design that is being imposed. Preservation of the Bill of Rights should be the standing order for these organizations. Service to country over party or ideology, as all ideology and party bases should be derived from the original intentions to serve the benefit of man and the prosper of a nation of free patriots.